How's it going? Kevin here from Reviews by Kevin. I do quick reviews of stuff, and today I'm doing a quick review of the Donner DED-50T electronic drum kit thingamajig. It's like just a tabletop drum kit. I'll put up some videos of me using it and what it looks like. My use case for this is I want to use it as a MIDI drum kit. So like a MIDI input as an alternate method of recording drums for demo tracks instead of just pure finger drumming. I can't do the kick drum while finger drumming. It's too hard. I feel like I'm going to get carpal tunnel or something like that. So my question is, can I use this as a way to just do rough drum takes for demo tracks for rock songs? So I tried initially to hook up my sustain pedal that I was using for my MIDI keyboard as the kick drum. I was unsuccessful in getting that to work, and I could do it, but it was cumbersome. So I'll save details of that for another video or something like that. But in the end, I think this drum kit is okay. It's okay for doing that. It's got pros and it's got cons. There's some ways where it's better than finger drumming, and there's some ways where it's worse. I might end up doing this, which is using just the kick pedal from the Donner DED-50T. So the DED-50T would essentially be a brain for a single MIDI trigger of a kick drum input. And then still doing the hat and the snare and the crashes and the toms and stuff with my MIDI keyboard. As far as using it as a non-MIDI input, it's kind of silly. I mean, like, you could use the built-in sounds and stuff like that. I might throw in some video of what that sounds like, but maybe for a kid or something like that, or just a practice pad or something like that, but I wouldn't use it for that. I don't know. So here are the pros. It works. I mean, like, technically everything functions. So you can get a working MIDI drum track out of playing it. The cons are, con number one, it has a really low velocity sensitivity from what I can tell. So if you do the kick drum, it's just on or off. It just registers like a click of the kick drum was kicked, and it's at a constant velocity. And the velocity meaning like the volume that the MIDI key input is registered at, is a very high volume, which is fine. I mean, like, maybe if you want to do subtle things and subtleties with your kick, like, you know, little ghost kicks and stuff like that, it won't be what you want. But for me, I just want the kick drum to hit when I hit the kick drum. Good enough. We're in business. But then when you are using a drumstick and you hit the actual pad, it's quite quiet. Like, it doesn't register it very loud. Now, I've fixed this for myself in my own use case in Ableton by adding, under the MIDI effects selection, you can add a velocity thing. So you can basically crank up the, drive all the way to 1.0. And so that makes your curve, so if you hit it quiet, it'll still be quiet, but very quickly when you start ramping it up, it will make it play louder. That kind of fixes that problem for me. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two, when I hit the snare, almost every time I hit the snare, it registers, it's hypersensitive, which maybe is good, but it kind of registers like a little pop-up, pop-up, pop-up. Because my stick hits it, bounces off, and I'm still pressuring it, and so it hits it again. So I've played a real snare drum. I just hit the snare drum. But here it registers every little micro bump of my stick. So ba-bum, ba-bum. Now I go in and I quantize this afterwards, and if there's two notes that are close enough to the downbeat, it'll quantize them back down into one hit. So that's a practical solve for me. So once again, good enough. It works. Negative number three, it's got 7 pads. I want 8 pads. So like I said, the pedals, and this applies for the kick drum and for the hi-hat, they just register one click of when you tapped it down. Now, when you're using this in its acoustic mode, so like the speakers of the drum kit are playing drum sounds. If you hold down the hat and you hit the hat pad, it will make the sound of a closed hat. That I don't think is achievable by MIDI. So if I close the hat, I can set that up in Studio Drummer. Now I'm using Native Instruments Studio Drummer inside of Ableton. I can set that up to make the sound of a closed hat. But then when I hit the hat pad, it doesn't know that I'm continuing to hold down the hat pedal. So what I end up having to do is have two of the pads on the top of the device set up to be hats. One for an open hat, one for a closed hat. The problem with that is that now you're down to 5 other pads. So what are you going to do? So you need the snare, so now you're down to 4. You need a crash. I can either have 2 crashes and 1 tom, or 2 toms and 1 crash. And neither one of those is what I want. I want at least 2 toms, like the smaller tom and the floor tom, and then 2 crashes. I would love to have 3 toms. I can't have all of the pieces of the instrument that I would like to have. Another thing is, as I'm recording, so like I said, any hit is just triggered as one tiny little hit. So there's no duration to any of the MIDI notes that you're inputting. Then the resulting MIDI notes are actually really hard to grab in the piano roll in Ableton to adjust it and stuff like that. I don't know if there's another MIDI effect like the velocity that can fix this as well. So now all these problems are starting to add up to the point where it's like, maybe this isn't like a great way to do the drums. In the end, it does feel nice. It feels natural to be drumming, you know? But I don't end up being that accurate when I do things this way. Maybe that's my own skill level because I'm a trash drummer. But in the end, I'm almost starting to feel like I should just use this thing to fix my original problem, which is I don't want to have to do the kick drum with my fingers when I'm finger drumming, and then do the rest with my MPK Mini or I have a Launchpad Pro. Maybe I should just do everything else in that and then the kick drum with this. Now, the only caveat is the kick drum pedal is not great and it's super light, and there seem to be little open spots where you could like affix it to the ground somehow, but I haven't figured out how to do that. So as I'm playing, within 30 seconds of when I start playing, the kick pedal starts drifting around on the floor. So you'll need to adhere it to I might like duct tape it down when I'm actually doing tracking. But for now, it kind of floats around as I'm playing. Just a few oddities about using it as an actual acoustic drum kit. One is that the arrows on the device, when you're selecting the other like drum kit sounds, if you push the up arrow, it goes down. If you push the down arrow, it goes up. It's just like totally not made correctly, but whatever, it works. The record function, I tried all that. It works fine. You can put a little click on. All those features are like kind of cool if you're using it for its intended purpose, which is as this little kind of like drum kit sounding thing. But the sounds are pretty corny. They're pretty bad. There's 15 different sounding drum kits. They all kind of sound the same, which is just bad. Kit 14 was funny because it's like a super open snare, and I thought of it as like the Saint Anger kit. Saint Anger around my neck. But yeah, none of the sounds are that fantastic, but it sounds like a bad drum kit if you want to make drum sounds, so that's kind of fine. But the volume doesn't get like crazy loud. It's not like you're going to be gigging with this thing. You'd have to kind of like use the audio output on it and go to an amp or something like that if you wanted to do that. But basically, it's not going to be like a fantastic quality sounding audio if you use it for this purpose. I do want to also say real quick, the pad sensitivity is pretty good across like the surface of the pad. So if you hit on the side, I was pretty impressed with. It's not like with these odd shapes you have to hit precisely in the middle or anything. Even it seems to be that the entire pad's surface is pressure sensitive. I got it on Amazon for $140. Quite impressive for the price in terms of having a way to do drumming, and you can at least get some MIDI input going. It won't be like perfect. You'll have to do some cleanup after the fact. It's a start. It's an interesting option. I think if your goals are like mine, it's worth giving it a shot. I couldn't find anything else cheaper. Now, if you know a way to use a sustain pedal as a kick that actually registers as a MIDI note, let me know, because that's really what I would like to do. And then I would get rid of this device because I don't like having more clutter. Go ahead and buy it. I'm going to put the affiliate link in the description if you want to give it a shot like I did. It's good enough. It's for the price. It's not, you're not breaking the bank. Yeah, so the affiliate link is in the description. If you want to buy it, click that link to buy it, and then I'll get a little bit of a kickback from Amazon in the form of a gift card, and hopefully justify spending $140 on this thing. So there you go. There's my review of the Donner DED-50T. This has been Reviews by Kevin. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see other bad reviews like this. Have a good one.